Welcome to Vlog Thursday 366. I hiccuped as soon as I said start, because that makes it more fun. Having some technical difficulties that were undoubtedly created by me. The difficulty all circled around the fact that the video capture card was just displaying blank, but rebooting it fixes it. Like rebooting fixes so many things. So here I am. Oh, I see Jason Slagle. I don't know if he's still here, but he joined early. So first, he sees it because all this it's tied into our Slack notices for videos that get published and everything else. Fun stuff. Let's see here. Newsletter is the first thing I want to talk about. That's going well. The only thing I haven't finished with the newsletter, I've only done 2 of them so far. You sign up for the newsletter on lawrencesystems.com. And I'll pull that up. Why not while we're talking about it? We pull up what I'm talking about. So that would make a lot of sense, right? We'll scroll down, share screen. There we go. Down here at the bottom, stay up to date with the newsletter. This is going well. Quite a few people have signed up for the newsletter. The open rate is really high because there's not many people signed up. Therefore, the first 500 people, and I think it's a little over, right around 500 or so right now, they signed up, and of course they're going to open it because they were the 500 interested people. Some people will sign up later, undoubtedly forgot they signed up and go, why do I get this newsletter from time to time? And it'll just be one of those things. But nonetheless, the newsletter has been a way for me to communicate not just videos I made, but other tech interests I have every 2 weeks. I'm dropping them on the 1st and 15th of each month. That's the cadence I'm trying to stick to. And I have just, interesting tidbits that I find and stuff from other creators that you might find interesting. It's focused, obviously, very technical based on the topics that I cover. But that's, a thing I plan to grow because it's a good way to, I think, to connect with your audience. I regret not starting it sooner, but hey, the best time to start would have been, a while ago. The next best time is now, and now is when I've started it. So I figured it's my thing for 2024. If you're interested, you just drop your email address in there. But someone had a really good point they brought up. I think it was last week. And this is something I'm hoping to get fixed soon. They asked for an RSS feed. Now I can give you, because I'm currently running it through MailChimp, I can give you the MailChimp RSS feed, but I don't want to base my RSS feed on MailChimp. So instead, I'm building an automation that will take each one of my newsletters, automatically turn it into a blog post with an RSS feed that's tied to my website. That way, if I ever change the back end, I don't lose a bunch of people. So that is my current plan, is to get that implemented maybe in the next week or so. This is one of those things that eventually I need to probably hire someone. It's not that I don't know how, it's a matter of bandwidth, of how much time do I spend creating videos? How much time should I spend fixing things like setting up the backend RSS? So there's always things I'm more than happy to outsource those tasks. The other challenge, of course, with outsourcing those tasks is I don't mind giving someone access to my website, but then I got to also give them access to more, such as building it with automation using Zapier. That's probably the tool I'll use to automate it, but now I got to trust that person to be able to do all that. You'd love to see how I set that automation up. It's really not, it's just Zapier. I use Zapier already for my automations for things. This is just more using Zapier, where Zapier actually is how my videos get auto published in places. This is how, if you go to my forums, for example, this is all the Zapier integration. Share this tab. And we look at the latest things like the vlog post here. Unpaid worker bot. All the posts by unpaid worker bot are simply posts done by the Zapier system. It's tied to this with an API, and it's tied to my YouTube with an API. It's tied to my LinkedIn with an API. It used to be tied to Twitter with an API, and then Twitter destroyed the APIs and says, we don't want auto posts. We only want bots. We don't want, sensible automation companies like Zapier connecting to here. We'd much rather have Bitcoin pump and dump scams going on there. Oh, sorry. That's my rant about Twitter. But nonetheless, I digress. We shall move on to a couple other topics I have here, since I pull up the rest of my notes, because I was actually working on this topic. Pull up my agenda. There we go. Newsletter. Did I mention the new book? I think I mentioned last time the book I read, which I just added that to my site, so I can actually pull that back up on my site. I'm trying to keep better track of different books that I really enjoyed. You'll find them on my website under Tech Books We Love. I have all the We Love stuff. I put things we love, tech books, partners, creators. So there's a whole list of different books. This is the latest book I just added, called Tracers in the Dark. It's been on my to-do list to fix the scaling. For some reason, when I zoom in, it makes that book look, the book's slightly, I think it's just I grabbed the wrong image of the book. It's slightly smaller, but when everything's at 100%, it's only slightly misaligned. That's a detail I'll fix later. But these are all the books on there. I also, and I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again because I've been adding more to it. I have a list of different YouTube channels and podcasts that I like, and you may like too. This is all tech centric, so you'll find it all on my website. I'm keeping that up to date, and I've still been adding more people to it as I like them. I think that's going to be a really important thing, is being able to curate more of this information, which is also, I think, the newsletter is going to become more important. There's so much garbage content that keeps filling up on YouTube. All of these, Kyle Hill did one because they're targeting a lot of the science videos, and he talked a lot about how there's just all these AI generated, AI read channels that are just creating thousands and thousands of videos, and they're trying to flood the YouTube system. So you kind of got to find the diamonds in the rough sometimes, because their SEO system seems to favor some of those, or at least they're gaming the YouTube SEO system just with brute force. And so, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of curation that's going to become more popular in the future. Now, I will mention I'm going to be at MSP GeekCon. I was just at CodeMash last week. That's why I did a short vlog. And I'll be at MSP GeekCon, which I did a video on. This is going to be there. So this is, I'm trying to make sure I let people know where I'm going to be. I don't know. I may publish a page on my site, because I'm booking up different conferences to go to, and I'm probably going to be going to a few hacking conferences. So I'll let people know if they want to say hi or run into me there. I'll be at, insert name of conference. I know I'm going to GurkCon, but GurkCon's in the fall. There's a few in between that I'll be at as well. I just haven't figured out which ones. All right. Next thing to talk about, though, like the topic I want to cover, and when I put these topics in the title, I tried to make sure I get to them reasonably fast, and that's going to be Home Assistant. I had a great time talking about Home Assistant with people at the CodeMash event, and there was a talk there at CodeMash about this, and I loved it. This person had a great talk. I'm going to pull up some of their resources to talk about this. And the Home Assistant, and this came up the other day. Share this one here. And the Home Assistant I run on a Raspberry Pi, and people had asked me why. And this is actually what I was doing just before I came over here to do the live stream. And I think that might have been what messed up my capture card, or why it was freaking out. I was cloning cards for the Raspberry Pi. This is my Home Assistant one. I will find, when I do my video, where we got the 3D print, because my Home Assistant's actually mounted in my rack, and I use a Raspberry Pi. And someone says, Tom, why aren't you, everyone seems to want to virtualize it. And I'm like, I have it running on dedicated hardware 24/7. So whenever I update or reboot, or any of my other things I may want to do to any of the other hardware, this is always just doing its thing. Matter of fact, if for some reason I needed to shut down my network because we're at a power loss, this uses so little power, this would probably run for, I don't know how long, a really long time on a UPS. So certain home automations, because, I do have a generator, I could limit to running on this. I don't know. I really like the Home Assistant system, but I am going to be diving into a video on it. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, and let me pull up the Home Assistant resources. I think the biggest thing with Home Assistant that I find, and this is where I could always use some feedback from all of you to help me make a better video, is trying to figure out what products to buy, which ones work well with Home Assistant. Lots of things claim, if you go to Amazon, you wander around, but then you get these claims that they work with Home Assistant, and they do, but they don't work well, or they work but require much more configuration time than maybe you're willing to put. I always look for devices, and this is one of the things I plan to do with my Home Assistant video is I found devices, and I'll have a whole list of them that'll all be, all laid out in my forums or wherever I want to put this list, where here's all the devices I have. Here's all the ones that are easy to configure, easy to set up. You don't have to spend time goofing with the firmware, swapping things out. This was something me and Jay from LearnLinks TV, he had a couple of them. He's like, oh, you just got to swap the firmware on these. And we had a couple of the firmware was really tedious to update. And they had another update that caused another problem. And like, you had to find the old bin file for this. And I'm like, this is tedious. I don't want tedious. I want people who can adopt things right out of the box. I love that you can go more in depth with Home Assistant. And I am in no way telling anyone not to go more in depth with Home Assistant. But I think starting at the deep end of the pool is hard for a lot of people. My goal is to make it easy for people to have an easy list of devices that you could just buy, press a button, adopt them into your Home Assistant, and just start using it. I think that's the best way to get that. This is one of the reasons the cloud is so compelling to people, is because they want to use things that are easy to use and they don't want to set it up. And you're already going through some level of setup when you talk about the, having to find a piece of hardware like a Raspberry Pi to run it on there. This is actually, I'm going to borrow this because this will be out. This will be one of the slides I took the picture of this. Will be a slide I include in mine, is explaining the differences between Zigbee and Z-Wave and why I prefer both of these protocols to be used. And this is because I don't like a bunch of Wi-Fi devices. This is where a lot of people get concerned about Wi-Fi and go, well, what about, are you worried about buying insert name of some random third party, untested, potentially IoT problem device? And then you're like, well, we can block the internet from it, but then it's still on your network and doing whatever it does. If you choose protocols like Zigbee and Z-Wave, you don't have to worry about that. They're not internet based. These are just devices that easily connect, that talk to the device itself. As a matter of fact, this is the card that I'm using. This little Nortec device, pretty simple. It's got both Zigbee and Z-Wave on one little USB. So this is sticking out of I have two of them. This is just plugged into my Raspberry Pi running Home Assistant, and I'm able to talk to both protocols. So I can look at Zigbee devices, I can look at Z-Wave devices, I can control them simultaneously. Is Zigbee easy to hack? Well, that's the thing. There is a level of security in there, but what protects you with the Z-Wave, and this comes down to your threat modeling you do, they do have like a level of security. I don't know. I haven't dug in depth because it's not on my worry list of someone hacking my Zigbee devices. First, if a matter of fact, just pull the slide up, you'll notice the range on these. You can go about 50 to 100 feet. So you got to be outside of my house in order to mess with my Z-Wave or Zigbee devices. This is the first challenge, is if someone's in really close proximity hacking away at your devices, they can do the same thing with Wi-Fi. If that's your threat model, don't have wireless devices, end of story, because Wi-Fi is even more hackable. Or now let's say hackable, Wi-Fi has good security, but for a denial of service, for example, that's easy. Just de-auth it. You can just spread noise and de-auth Wi-Fi for people and cause problems. So if you have a threat model that says I need to protect against people, interfering with my wireless signals, well, then you should do things that are more hardware made. Didn't this stuff drive Linus saying I see had a firmware cage fight with the company? Yeah, I don't remember all his. I don't watch much of Linus stuff, so What's the model on the USB devices? Well, I do have some of that started, so let me get this going, and I'll drop a link for everyone. I don't have all my devices in there, or maybe by the time you're watching this in post, it will. But this is most of my Home Assistant parts, and you're going to find them in the link here. Kit.co/Lawrence Systems/Home Assistant parts. This is all the Home Assistant stuff that I've added. And because I bought more stuff, I got to add more stuff to that list. But that is, that to me is, like I said, a big thing in the video. It's got specifically the model, little USB, and a bunch of other devices that I bought for my Home Assistant. HA has remote backup, so I'm able to back it straight up to the NAS. Yes, backing up Home Assistant's not hard to do. What I did, though, was I went and cloned. Let me go grab it real quick. I'll show you. Maybe. Because someone will undoubtedly complain that I'm using an SD card, but I use these. These are high endurance. I should put a link to these in there, but they're pro endurance Samsung SD cards. And what I do is I pull the card out and I clone one card to another. So now I have a complete clone of a working system. I have a backup to all the settings, but the bigger challenge is what happens if the thing dies. Well, I got to reload it, and then I got to, restore those settings, and that might be a little bit tedious. But so cloning it once in a while, and I realize it's been almost 4 years ago that I installed on that SD card. I can't remember exactly how long it's been running, 3 or 4 years, somewhere around there. I can't remember, I think it was 2020. It was around 2020 when I installed it. 2019 or 2020 is when I set up the Home Assistant on there. And I figured that card has seen enough over that many years of writing. So I went and replaced it with another high endurance one. There are specific ones you can buy. Most of the failures I've seen with SD cards is because people buy the best budget one they can get. Like they buy the cheap Micro Center ones and things like that. And yeah, those seem to fail a little bit more often. But the pro endurance ones are ones made for like cameras that do looping recording, like security cameras. These don't write as fast, but I don't care about writing fast. So they're pretty good for long-term storage. So Linus had an issue with the GE, Jasco, and their Z-Wave firmware update process. Yeah, you need Ethernet to Zigbee Z-Wave bridge. I have no idea if they make that. No idea. Maybe. That's a big maybe. Like I said, my solution is it runs wonderfully well on a Raspberry Pi 4. No issues. Why even have a VM or any extra complexity to it? I love the simplicity of it. I never managed to get remote Z-Wave working within my Home Assistant VM. Check out the Aragon 1 Pi case as M2 support. Yes, I thought about that too. It's a consideration. It's an expense I didn't feel like spending. By the way, the way I'm setting this up is this is rack mounted. This is a 3D printed rack mounted case. So if you notice, let me see if I get a better picture of it. There are rack ears. Here's a picture. Here we go. Let me crop this one in. There we go. See it's only got rack ears on one side because, well, it doesn't need another side of rack ears. But this just mounts into my rack. So I like how tiny this is. It doesn't take up a lot of space. Not that it's a big deal to get one of those cases. You can also get the Home Assistant devices directly. So if we go over to... I thought about buying one of their devices, but I just don't have a problem with mine. share this tab. Where is the... I got to find it on their site. There we go. They have their own you can buy as well. So lots of different options. But like I said, I went with a Raspberry Pi, and they've since come out with this as well, the Sky Connect, Zigbee and Thread, because this supports the Thread as well. So there's even more support they have. And I have more USB ports. So for some reason I need to do that. That's a possibility. My first goal, HA, is connect to some internet of poop devices that I have. Yeah. Now, there's actually, you can get an SSD case with a plug USB, works well with 3B plus. Cool. Rack-mounted RPi cases. Yeah, there's a few different rack-mounted Raspberry Pi cases you can get. There's plenty of 3D printing options. I mean, maybe someone sells it. We have a 3D printer, so we just print them. Makes it easy. But something that people may find relevant here, and this was kind of funny. Let me just find the link to it because I thought this was perfect. Now, this kind of blew up on social media. The person who had the GE washer or whatever it was that was using way too much data. And this came up in the talk where they were talking about how do you monitor the dryer or washer. And this is, I'll throw a link in here. This is brought up at the talk at CodeMash. And this is a DIY system to monitor the energy usage. This way you can determine whether or not someone was, running the dryer. And I think this is where Home Assistant really shines. If you are a tinkerer, you are a real, I want to deep dive into electronics, this is all stuff you can build for little or nothing, a couple little pieces, and you can build a power monitoring. And the way they're monitoring the power is just with the little clamper on the cord. So you're actually monitoring the power usage via the electrical signal. So you're not tapping into the power. You're just kind of watching what goes across it. And then you can determine whether or not your washer is done or your dryer is done doing what it's doing. It's kind of I thought this was a really clever hack. And this person does that. So he doesn't have to wonder when his clothes are done drying. He can actually see the power usage drop. That sets off an automation to let him know that the clothes are done. And he'd use this same setup to monitor different random things. Just through induction. Just really clever. I was nodding my head going, yeah, that's pretty cool. What else did this person have? They had a few of the different scenes. I'll share the GitHub from the person who did the talk as well. There, I just threw that link in there as well. This was the person who gave the talk. They walked through their automations getting started, and they also are using, I'm not using this. This is the Z-Wave MQTT, and that's a whole different topic at all. I'm not using the MQTT right now. That gives you all kinds of fun stuff, but even that goes beyond what I'm even doing right now. Now, I have customized my Home Assistant a little bit more. I have the Zeus ones as well. I do like the Zeus stuff from Home Assistant. I think it's great. The way I've customized this, I've removed some of the Synology cameras. I still have all my Synology integration, but I moved them all over to here so I can just see all the cameras at a glance. But there's a couple pieces I want to talk about with Home Assistant. First, I'm going to break it probably into 2 videos, or maybe I'll just do one, because I have the Home Assistant, but then I also have how I'm integrating Home Assistant. So when the Synology recognizes a person in the driveway, it will turn on my lights, for example. That is another automation that I built where I tied the Synology and Home Assistant together using webhooks. And it just makes it so simple to do. I think it's a good talking point on Home Assistant on there. Other than that, and I can't change them now or they would turn off the camera, but this runs all my studio. This is how I boot up the studio computer. That's how the space heater turns on and off. And this turns on all the lights. I think you'll be able to see these behind me if I turn them on. It'll get a lot brighter behind me. Yeah. This is an automation for the bench I have behind me. So it just brightened up because there's a workbench I put in. And I also put this big button here. If you're wondering why it's a big button with all these lights, that's because it's easier on my phone to just press the big button instead of looking at it. So it's on my phone. I put this as the last one. So I open up Home Assistant. I flick with my thumb to go to the bottom. I press this button and it turns on all my studio bench lights. Yeah, the latency is like nothing. One of the advantages you get is the fact that all these features are pretty much instantaneous. Like maybe do this right here. What can I change that you can see that's behind me? See the purple behind me? That's the left back. Which one is that? Lamp, studio workbench. Now I think this one actually does a fade. Nope. That one you can't tell. What could I change? I think I could turn these lights out. Yeah. These ones won't turn off the camera, but they will turn off all the lights. So you can see these are a lot of lights. Some of the lights themselves have a longer delay. It's pretty much instant when I do this, and it changes the scenes. So yeah, very low latency. I've not done any UniFi integration because I don't need to. I don't have a use case for it is mostly why. Like Jay from Learn Linux TV, he's went as far as to have firewall rules that can be changed from Home Assistant. You can tell Home Assistant to change rules in pfSense. I don't have a need for that. I think it's novel, but you can do it so there's an automation that changes a setting in your firewall. And I have to look at what UniFi integrations are supported, but I don't remember any of them being interesting to me. And because I don't use any of the UniFi cameras, and if I had UniFi cameras, maybe I'd use it, but I don't have any UniFi cameras. So there's not much there that I want to do. Have you tried using Blocky and traffic for ingress reverse proxy on Scale, or do you prefer to use HA proxy, Acme? HA proxy and Acme is my go-to for it's integrated into pfSense. It works really well. Ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't have a need that is unmet for me to want to try it. I know a lot of people like traffic, and I don't know any reason for you not to use it, but I would have to have another, system set up running traffic that I don't need. Half the battle is naming all the switches. The other half is remembering what the name means. Oh, yes. You should always be very descriptive when you set things up in your Home Assistant, because if you're not, you'll be very confused. Setting groups and areas, it helps a lot in Home Assistant. So the setting things up be like studio or house lights. I don't have that many different house lights on automation right now, but if I do, I will be creating different groups. Like there's no automation in any other rooms besides my living room and kitchen are kind of one and the same. That's where all these automations are. And then I threw in, which my wife unplugged it right now because we don't have any outdoor decorations, but we have for different seasons, but not whatever season January is. We just have a little button that shows up whenever she plugs it in, and it allows us to turn the automations for, or whatever the decorations are outside. It's an outside plug. This is what my wife's dashboard looks like because she doesn't need to control the studio stuff. The only other thing I got to add on here is the Roomba. I keep forgetting to do it, but you can put the Roomba on there so you can tell it to go or not to go if I want it to stop doing things. It's kind of nice too, because I mostly just need to glance at my cameras from time to time. And one of the things I like about pulling all my cameras in here, and this works the same exactly on my phone. If I just want to look real quick outside, I can look real quick outside and see what's out there. Actually, that's interesting. You can see all the little squirrel marks. I think I'm assuming squirrels running around in the snow. I can see if there's a package on my porch, and I can see if there's someone in my driveway. Those are the only things I really need to know. and then I can just, go back over here. All right. That's weird. I got a message from somewhere. Oh, there we go. Unified integration was great for device tracking on phones with home and away automations. Yeah, that is one thing you can do. You can do just network monitoring of them. You can also, and I'll pull this up, if you use the Home Assistant app on your phone, actually, this is going to be, I wish I could show this in, trying to think of the easiest way to display this. So if I do this, man, I trying to figure out if I can show you how fast this is. So here's my phone. Come on, let's see if it'll focus on the right spot. Hold on, this is getting tricky. I got to get everything prepared, figure out where my mouse is. So if my phone will focus and you see where it says like under desk, when you click things on the screen, I mean, I'm clicking them. If you can hear the click of my mouse, there's milliseconds is how fast you'd measure delay. So with the phone syncing that fast and using the app combined with you telling the app to allow information to flow back and forth, which I'm fine with, is going to my Home Assistant, not to the cloud. This actually allows me to set parameters based on the phone information pulled in there. So you can do the presence detection with the app on the phone to let you know where the phone is. Matter of fact, one of the things I want to do is I want to start playing with some of the geolocation information and see how much more data I can pull in from the app. But one of the things that's kind of novel, and I don't use any of these features, but let me look up the entities on here and pull it up because I think this is just really cool. Yeah, here we go. Just gotta share this. Let me zoom in a little bit. If you notice though, I can see this is my wife's phone. She has the app on there. Mobile app. I can see what her battery level is. So the battery on my wife's phone, she's not here. She's at her sister's house and her battery is at 91%. I have my wife's had on here. I have mine on here. Here's my Pixel 7. Battery health is good. Battery power usage. Here's the whole history of my phone and the charging cycles. It's kind of cool that you can do this, and it's my data. This is all in my system. It's just, it's really novel. I'm not doing anything with this data, but I have it. So definitely, you can do quite a bit of things with the app tied to the phone. It's been on my to-do list to figure out what else I can do. Actually, I got to remove some of these because it says Pixel 7, but it's not. One of the things you can do is if I type in charging. So if I say Pixel 7 Pro is charging, see if I do this, how quick will it notice that? Oh, my phone's at 100%, so I don't even know if it'll show it's charging. Oh, it does. So I just plug my phone in. So now it knows my phone is charging. You can actually build automations off that where you can say when phone is charging, do these things. So I could actually have an automation where my phone, when I set it down to charge, maybe turns on all the lights because it knows I'm sitting in my office. There's fun things you can do with it. It's kind of fun. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Go back over here. There we go. Oh, let's see. It's just useful for presence detection. Yeah, I don't need that as much. So Production scale machine that could run traffic? No, I would not run any apps in TrueNAS Scale that I would call production. I find it buggy. Let's see. I've installed a sawn-off thermostatic radiator valve. Nice. Have you had volume buttons fall out of your Pixel 7, or do you have a case? I have a case. I've always put a case on my phone, so it hasn't been an issue. How do you allow your phone to talk to a server from outside of network VPN? Do you expose the server to internet? I do not directly expose the server to the internet. It does work through the Nabukasu. There's two ways you can do it. So you can do it through Nabukasu or you can use VPN. I would recommend VPN, but right now I'm testing out the Nabukasu because it's probably the easiest one that I'm going to recommend people to set up, and I've had no issues with it at all. It's got two-factor authentication. It's not directly exposed. It's through a relay system, so I think that's fine. But yeah, figure out what your risk tolerance is of how you'd want to handle that, whether or not you want to relay it through Nabukasu or just use a VPN. I use a VPN most of the time, but right now, like I said, I'll be honest, I've got it set up with Nabukasu because I wanted to see how well it worked, and it works quite well. I use a charging, not charging automation at bedtime. Hey, I know who you are. Yeah, links will be blocked. Email vlog Thursday at launchsystems.com, and that is easiest way. But you do the tutorials. I think I subscribed to some. You taught me a lot about DaVinci Resolve. I have the hardware in my first home lab, Asus Z90 32 gig 3200 CPU RAM is my old PC. Want to learn to control the network with it. Awesome. Since you have the Pixel, you have better support for de-Googled ROMs, or do you have any thoughts on using one? No, I don't. If I de-Googled it, the phone would be less useful to me. When she's out of Wi-Fi, does the VPN on her phone upgrade? No, the Nabukasu solves it for my wife, too. I migrated Home Assistant OS VM from PHP VirtualBox to ASUS Store NAS to Proxmox pretty easily. Took about 10 minutes, no problems. Awesome. Nabukasu is the company that makes the Home Assistant. So if you sign up for Home Assistant Cloud, it'll take you to Nabukasu. They're the company behind Home Assistant. So what was it? Home Assistant, Home Assistant.io. I'll throw a link to that here. But if you Google Home Assistant, you'll find their page. Yes, YouTube definitely auto-box links. That's my thing too. I do it to support the dev team as well. Zero tier is a good solution. Zero tier or Tailscale, either one of those should be fine for doing that. You can create buttons when sending notifications to your phone that can open other apps on your phone. Oh, that's cool. I've not tried that. Do you have a video comparing Ubiquiti cameras versus Synology cameras? Any thoughts? A lot of thoughts. The problem with the UniFi cameras is you're limited to only what UniFi offers. Synology's bragging point is we support thousands of cameras. So you're limited to whatever cameras that support Synology, which is, like they said, thousands of camera. And even if the camera is not officially supported by Synology, you can usually find support for it because the Synology supports the OVIS standard, the standard that a lot of cameras follow. So you can have a model that's varied from their actual support list and still have it work. Synology also offers way more features on the back end. The problem with UniFi, the good and bad, they give you an easy to use app, an easy to use system. but it's like it's limited to these features. You either like the features it has or don't use it. You don't want to, you don't have a backup feature, for example. There's not a, hey, let's back this NAS up to another data point. Yeah, then you'll be like, well, there's a hacky way to do it. Someone wrote some scripts, and now you see some of the challenges and shortcomings on there. I've heard of Harvester. I don't use it, so I don't really have an opinion on it. There's a lot of different ones out there that people ask about. It comes down to how good is their documentation and support. That's really what's, it's not just a product that works. You have to have a product that has good documentation, good support, doesn't implode every time there's an update. How do the updates go? This is a problem even for VMware. The VMware updates of the last year, there's a few of them that seem to cause more bugs. And that's just, a lot of people have that as a complaint. And now that VMware is, heading the road that they're heading down with Broadcom at the wheel of them doing full community destruction, I don't expect their updates to get any better. The reason I like XCP-NG is the updates go so smoothly. That is a huge factor because it's not installing it and does it work today. It's does it work over time? That's the question. How is Nabukasu any different than exposing HA directly to the internet, aside from not exposing your home IP? When you relay something, it's a little bit harder to find because you'd have to understand how they structure their URLs and are doing the relaying. They have a really long link that they send, so there's some obfuscation. Doesn't mean someone couldn't figure out a way to reverse engineer and enumerate it, but it's as opposed to if you're just exposing it directly. The other thing when you expose it directly is you'd have to deal with certificates. If you go the Nabukasu route, you don't have to deal with certificates. Now, certificates aren't a big deal to me because I have HA proxy. Matter of fact, if you've seen the URL internally, it's home.studio.launchsystem.com. That is the URL for my home assistant internally, or when I'm on a VPN. OwnVIF, yes. Synology also supports RTSP, yes. VMware's acquisition by Broadcom is a problem. It's a predicted problem. It is going exactly how anyone who knows anything about Broadcom, anyone who took the time to read the SEC filings, anyone who took the time to listen to the CEO talk of how they're going to close the $8 billion revenue gap. There's only one way to close an $8 billion revenue gap. And it's the way they said they were going to do it. They were going to raise their rates. They were going to lay off people. End of story. And they're going to get rid of anything for free. They don't give away things for free. I don't have an interest in TwinGate. It's a paid commercial product. It's they're a little vague and a lot light on details of how it works. It's a black box, opaque commercial tool provided by TwinGate. They're popular because they keep sponsoring YouTubers, so people keep asking about them. It's a good strategy, but I prefer open source tools way more than I prefer closed source. Hence, the enshittification cycle, as Cory Doctorow puts it. This is what happens with these companies, especially when they're running on VC firm money. They get a bunch of investment money, and the return on investment is grab as much market share as you can, extract as much value as that market share, rinse and repeat until they're have ratcheted up the price until it's become unreasonable, then sell your shares of said company and get a pat on the back for all the profits you made and let the company fall and burn. It's an aggravating cycle with a lot of these companies. The nice thing about when it's open source, there's less a path leading to that. Also, most of the open source backers generally stay private, and keeping some of the VC and private equity out of it is a better path to a long-term sustainable project. Yes, it exposes more. This is a more accurate answer. You are correct. Nebuchadnezzar doesn't expose HA to the internet, exposes a secure API to their website. Yes, that's a more accurate way they do it. What are the best network cards for XCP-NG? I would use Intel cards. I use HA proxy with help from your videos, access most of my stuff. Nebuchadnezzar is a great way to help support the devs. For sure. In short, Broadcom is a problem. Broadcom's just being Broadcom. I think my favorite thing is I posted this article over a year ago. The Register did a good breakdown of all the things in the behavior of Broadcom and their intention. Like I was thinking, I like the honesty. We're not going to pretend we're a good company. We're going to tell you that by buying VMware, we can raise prices. We can raise prices substantially because many of these companies are not going to switch. It's too hard for them to switch. The smaller companies that can switch will, and they're going to make a lot of noise, but we make most of our money, most of our revenue. I think they said like 90% of their revenue comes from these large companies that are not likely to swap their infrastructure. So they lose this bottom 10% of people who make a bunch of noise on the internet and complain a lot, but their top line revenue doesn't look any worse, and away they go. They got rid of all the free stuff, so I don't know what the I don't really know what the plan is. I know they got there was a recent article they got rid of the last of the free things. I don't know what the future holds for that. My guess is they don't care about the community because they have the community built them, but they don't need it to go further, so they can drop it. And by the time you don't have a pipeline of people using VMware, this is how communities work. You get a group of base users using it for a long time. They love it, so they start using it at work. It's what they all recommend because it's what they know. It's what they use in their home labs, and you build that community up. Then when you cut off that community, you didn't stop your top line revenue, but you did stop the future of your product. But by the time these CEOs leave office, they can just get a pat on the back for, oh, look at this person. 5 years in that building, they made X million dollars. Look at their VMware deal. They bought them for $60 billion. They sold them for $90 billion and made a bunch of money in between. Then whoever buys it next is, no one wants to touch it because it doesn't have a pipeline of inbound community. It's on the outbound side. You can tell I'm a little bitter on how a lot of these systems work. How much do good hypervisors cost? I think XCP-NG's pricing is very reasonable. You can look that up. I don't have that link handy. I would rather use NetBird, HeadScale, Tailscale. Yeah, NetBird is pretty cool. 8 billion. They're looking in the sofa of Fortune 1000 companies. That's their sofa. That's the couch cushions by which they will extract some value. There's a lot of buzz about zero trust in the networking realm. Has your company been asked to build and implement zero trust network? Yes. I thought about doing a rant on zero trust. I don't know if it's a good fit for my channel. Yes. Zero trust is my favorite marketing term. I'm thinking that you can buy zero trust or you can buy security solution. It's too much marketing. It doesn't necessarily mean what people think it means. Look up the NIST. I think NIST got a good definition of it. Google's planning on not allowing password authentication. Do you have a recommendation for SST email service notifications on all the appliances? Yes. I've talked about this before. It is called, is it Duo Circle? I'll find a link here. Where did it go? We'll bring this over here. Duo Circle. I use them. I think they have a free service still. So Duo Circle for email. Chelsea and Mellanox, they seem fine. I have some of my systems do have those in there. I always recommend the Intel because they're so easy to find, and they're cheap. Yeah, I think IX Systems ships with some of those too. Any bets on VMware profits crashing in 5 years? Corporate hypervisors start migrating. I think it might take more than 5 years, but it's a matter of time. It's a matter of when, not if. I think, but mostly upset with regulators. Oh, that's a whole different topic. Yes. Any plans on creating a video for HA proxy load balancer failover? Not on my to-do list. Maybe one day, but I have a lot of other videos I want to finish first. There's little demand on a failover video for HA proxy, and the time it would take me to make it, that I would prefer to do some of the other videos first. I try to prioritize, content that I want to do combined with what the demand is for things. There's some balance in between. Mostly I create videos that I think are interesting, that are sometimes even mostly about what I actually do in my day-to-day job, if you will, of working in tech. So more of my videos are focused around that than the edge cases. Have any recommendations for Intel cards or manufacturers? If you look up the Intel X520 10 gigs, you can get genuine Intel ones used for really cheap. X520 DA2, those ones, like Sam Sheridan said here, X520 DA2, you find the ones with the Intel chips on there, 40, 50 bucks on eBay. I've bought some of them cheaper. I found a box of them on eBay. Someone was selling a few of them cheap, so now I got plenty of them. But yeah, they're easy to find. They're trustworthy. They're not too expensive. Oh, let's see. Have you looked at ZimaCube? Would you use one for your business instead of a pre-made NAS? I'm a skeptic on the ZimaCube. I can't really say more. I watch my friends who are reviewing the ZimaCube. When I say my friends, other creators might be listed on there. So that's going to be it's going to be an interesting topic, I think. I don't know. I think it's neat, but I don't know if I'm completely sold on it. I'm waiting for the reviews to come out. I don't have one, and it's not on my to-do list to buy one. Does Tailscale block you from seeing a network drive? No, I can't think of a reason it would. Dual Circle sounds like the name of a Google product that will probably be canceled in 18 months. Yeah, it's not a Google product, but yes. Can you play with AI without escaping your network? Is there any use for AI in HomeLabs, especially for art writing, video editing? I heard some AI is great for spot video clips. Yes. Matter of fact, there's a ton, and I think this is where the bigger future is in AI. Everyone knows and associates AI with ChatGPT. That's a form that is AI in ChatGPT. Yeah, that made it popular, but you can get a ton of these language models. Matter of fact, I would actually recommend you follow on YouTube, and he's one of the creators I have on there. He's done a couple recent videos on this. Let's see here. Jim's Garage. He just did one here. I think he's got a video on it. One NAS. Oh. Yep. He's got a stable diffusion tutorial, for example, and I'll drop a link to his video in here. Yeah, I made friends. I reached out and became friends with Jim. Just genuinely nice person. That's why he's listed on there. He's got some really solid videos on this, but he's got a few videos on doing some of the AI stuff and how to run it yourself. I know he's got one other one on here. Nonetheless, I think he's straight up got some solid home lab things. Oh, he's even got a whole frigate video here. He's got a head scale video. I've seen he's doing similar, stuff that's really related to the home lab, and so that's why I reached out to him. Very good channel, Jim's Garage. Highly recommend it. Oh yeah, I use AI. This video will have an AI tool build out all the chapters. It takes a little while to process from the time I finish this live stream, but it goes back retroactively. We actually use another tool commercially at CNWR. We summarize all of our meetings with AI tools as well. So there's definitely some really cool things you can do with it. I want to be able to switch between a Netgate 4200 and 4100 and EDM Pro as my main router a few months. Is there a better solution unplugging one into the other? Not really. Well, no, I actually, yes. We had one of these for a client. Let me pull one up because this exists. Where did this go? There we go. This exists. So yes, you could do this for you. Use one of these old boxes. There's probably there's probably other variations of this. This one's DB9. But yeah, I don't know how good these are. I've seen them in use before. Kind of funny that they still make them. So you could do that. When you use something like Proxmox, do you install VMs on different drives or keep all the VMs or containers on one drive? Usually you group the drives into a RAID array, and then I install it on a RAID array. Can you use a 10 gig Ethernet switch, specifically Mac? My 10 gig Mac Mini refuses to stay connected. My Flex XG seems a common problem with 10G Mac devices. Have no idea. I don't have any 10 gig Mac devices, and I did not know that was an issue. I'm moving to MikroTik for my 10 gig switches. Yeah, there's some really neat AI stuff you can self-host. We've had a couple different language models we were testing at the office, and it's kind of surprising how good they work. OpenVPN working well with different subnet. Subnet means the host names aren't resolved in pfSense. They don't register DHC in Kia DNS. What's the best way to reference? I don't use the Kia one because there's certain features not working. So I don't have a workaround for that. Other than making a bunch of manual DNS entries and forcing your DNS to be in there. That's probably, if you are going to use the Kia one where it can't register, then just force them all in there into DNS entries. Yeah, I do want to do that because let me pull this back up. I just finished this. This is what's behind me right now. This is my second shooting area that I have for that. So yeah, I wanted to finish this. I'm going to do kind of a home lab tour where I work on things, projects I have. So yes, I will be doing a tour really soon. Oh, here's another view of it. Kind of from above. I was just standing on a chair. I've seen a few people complain about Kia DNS. I believe it has many features. Kia DHCP, I think you mean. I only have two 10 gig devices. Am I better off keeping my 3COM 24 port gigabit switch and adding a 10 gig switch? I mean, depends on your budget. I like when things are all in one switch because it's convenient. But if that's what, if your budget allows for that, awesome. If not, then yeah, it's just adding one more switch and tying them all together. It just comes down to budget, really. Consolidation is great, but if you go, well, that's more expensive, then go the route that works. Functionality wise, you'll get the same result. Yeah, I trust east-west switching and Wi-Fi. Yes, I don't like them as much for the firewall either. They're better than they used to be. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on different PDUs. I think I have an APC right now. I don't have a strong opinion on the different power delivery units. There's some people that may buy ASIC ones, but you're not going to see that in most of the consumer stuff at all. You don't get to the ASIC firewall edges until you get to some of the larger enterprise stuff. New to XCP-NG, I use my laptop for an ISO repository. Created a share private network, created a share full access. User ping works for servers and laptops, still not able to use it as an SR. That's probably a better forum post because I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to do. Using a laptop as a storage repository. That's why I have my forums. Those are easier places to post that. What's your best bang for the buck for a layer 3 switch? I mean, MikroTik is probably, provided you don't mind dealing with the quirkiness of a MikroTik. MikroTik's really the most affordable in the market. That's why they're so popular in a home lab. I prefer for the UniFi. I just like how simple the UniFi are. So it comes down to, do you want to deal with the quirkiness and the interface on one of those? Then someone will start an argument in the comments of just learn the command line. It's better. And people are going, but I don't want to learn the command line. I just need a couple VLANs set up. Is it worth spending time learning the command line for a couple VLANs? I don't know. January 24 Home Lab Tour gives you a good starting point for December 24 year in Home Lab review. Yes, it does. I'll look at which one I have. The one I have, I know has maybe I can find it on Amazon. The one I'm using in my rack has a cover on it that won't let you got to lift the cover to hit the button. No, I have way too many things in here. Let me put rack. Whoops. I bought a few of these apparently. I bought 3 of these. I have this is the one that's in my rack right now. It's only 15 amp. Maybe that's enough for you. My home lab does not use a lot of wattage. I'll throw a link to this one for anyone interested in it. I moved from Unraid to TrueNAS, and the performance is night and day better. Plus CFS is amazing. Yes. Does your company help clients find co-location? Do you have a preferred wireless? I like because people I've worked with, Deft is nice. But I no, I don't have a list of and I don't. Yeah, that's not really a service we offer. I saw some covers, but this one was cheap. Turns out cheap wasn't worth it. Probably look at 3D printing something to stick over it. Yeah, that's the solution too. Any thoughts on that? Anything Kaseya here? I'm pretty sure I've already been banned from attending Kaseya events. But my thoughts on Kaseya are screw them. They suck. So if I wasn't banned, that would mean I've now broke their non-disparagement clause. It's a shame they acquired Datto. Datto had some promise. They sold it, and actually, I think the funniest thing I heard someone say, someone was complaining about Kaseya buying them and them ruining the company, and then also saying that the owners of Datto were such good people, blah blah blah. And I was like, the funny thing about it is, and as someone pointed out, as one of those after hours bar discussions go, they said, hey, somebody actually yelled, hey, asshole, there was multiple signing lines. The owners did not have to sell to Kaseya. They cashed out and sold to Kaseya. So you can blame them as much as anything. But my thoughts on Kaseya in general is screw that company. They're not a good they're not a good company. I would not touch anything that Kaseya owns. I have no interest in it. Clear. If you don't know who Kaseya is, if you work in the managed service provider space, you'll certainly hear their name come up a bit. They're one of the big providers in that space. Turn my phone off. It's making noises. There we go. Anyone found out a way to specify firewall rules for VPN clients and UDP? Not that I know of. I see Travis. Yeah, Travis knows who Kaseya is. Is there a rule of thumb of how much bigger your snapshot data protection pools should be, i.e., 2 terabytes of data snapshot? Well, let me explain it differently, because there's not a rule of thumb for that. The way the rule of thumb works is referred to as your data run rate. So if we go here and I pull up my TrueNAS, and let's look at my snapshots. So here is the LTS video doing snapshots every day. So let's actually look at the snapshots themselves. This is one thing that takes a while, is I do have a lot of snapshots. Actually, we should probably put, there we go. If you notice that my snapshots aren't using that much data, and the reason for that is I don't produce that much data. So the snapshots, you can have lots of them, but if there's not any change in the data, you don't have a large amount of data that they take up. So some days, because if I don't add a video, maybe I just changed a couple files, each snapshot might be only, like on this day here, nothing happened. I was probably when I was traveling. So there's only kilobytes of data from maybe some automation that was saving. Oh, these ones have nothing used at all because I wasn't there. So there's, once again, a lack of data being used on these. So it doesn't change. So it's not like a rule of thumb. It's about how much data change is there between the snapshots. Don't run out of space. Have you ever checked out TrueNAS Scale UI on mobile? I think it's actually pretty well optimized. No, I never think to log into my TrueNAS box on mobile. I don't have a need for it. So To use a traditional UPS, still transitioning over to portable power stations, and the runtime of lithium batteries has been a game changer. Uh, I have a lithium UPS, so kind of. Do the snapshots grow over time like they do in VMware? No, they don't work the same way. Uh, the snapshots are block level snapshots in time of the data. So the delta between one snapshot to the next doesn't grow over time necessarily. It grows over the amount of data that's changed over time. Yeah, snapshots are sizes are in relation to the amount of data that was changed from the previous time. Yeah, they're and because you generally let them expire, like I only keep my snapshots for my videos for 2 weeks. If I haven't noticed something's gone in 2 weeks, maybe I didn't need it. So 2 weeks of snapshots is fine for me. That way they expire out. As long as my creation of data change is not in 2 weeks greater than the volume of storage I have, I'm not going to have a problem with them. Does hitting the like button help the algorithm? I'm going to go with yes. How many companies that you manage moved away from VMware? That's a good. I'll have to really put some thought into that one. Quite a few, I'm sure, and quite a few more here in 2024. We do a lot of consulting, so a lot of people reach out to us because we're offering a solution. So sometimes they're not our clients; they're people who reach out to consulting with us to become our client, so we can help them do migrations. So it kind of skews the number. But yeah, license renewals when they come up, we're going to be looking at alternatives quite a bit. Mash the like button. Virt server using NFS and iSCSI shares the same LAN. Virt server is spinning up VMs using these shares, and I tag the VM as separate subnet. Is this routing data? I mean, if they're on the same subnet, no. You want your storage subnet and your hypervisor subnet to be the same. That's the more ideal situation. If a snapshot is a delta, there's a talk. It's shared in my forums. I'm trying to think of if I can remember exactly what the talk was titled, but it breaks down the complexities of how that works. So what happens to the previous snapshot? The ZFS engineering teams, the years of coding that have went into ZFS, allows for some really fanciness for that to work perfectly smooth. So yes. What is your experience moving an organization from vSphere to XCP-NG, say 4,000 VMs on 50 hosts? I think the largest I've done so far is only 2,000 VMs. I still think that's the largest. There might be another client. Well, by now they're bigger. I don't know. Once we helped them, they didn't need my help anymore. We just consulted with their team to get things going and go from there. But I think it'd work. There's definitely lots of companies running larger workloads. You can head over to their forums. There's a lot of engagement you can do and talk to the team at XCP-NG about what it looks like at scale. VMware will become Cisco. Yes. Lots of licensing headache. Do you sync the copy your data backup server? Do you snapshots on one server? I use a combination of things. My videos are big, so I don't have them in sync thing. That's an impractical way to handle them. I also don't worry about real-time backups for my videos. So that's all done with snapshots that are replicated to other systems. Now, my real-time backups are things that are done in sync thing. And anytime I create a file that's important to me, it's always in a folder tied to sync thing. So I have, excuse me, yawning a little bit. I have that all set up to automatically, the moment a file is created, it is synced and replicated to multiple server locations here and offsite. I love sync thing. It's my favorite go-to open source tool for synchronizing things. Here's it running on my desktop. and any file I change goes to these two servers. This is a local server, and this is a remote server across the VPN. So instantly when I edit a file, it is synced between here, and then whatever is synced to both of these is also synced to any other desktops that I use. For example, like my laptop. The moment I open my laptop, it instantly syncs all of my things. My phone is on here too. Whatever, my phone's on the same network. My phone has syncing on it, and this way, anytime I take a photo or a picture on my phone, it immediately syncs it to, provided I'm on the same network. I don't do it remotely because I don't need the bandwidth chewed up. I wait till it's on my Wi-Fi. But yeah, ZFS is the billion-dollar filing system. Yes. Made you yawn too? Have you seen those new PoE Mini PCs at CES? Those could be fun. I saw some videos, Linus and Level 1 text on them. I didn't look at those. Sounds novel, though. Yeah, definitely interesting. All the weird things. I like all the weird things that come out of CES. Maybe I'll go one year. I don't know. My interest level is kind of low on it. I don't know. My cousin, she's a YouTuber. She does dog and family videos, but it was kind of interesting because she went and I didn't watch her video on it yet, but maybe I'll go next year with my cousin. It sounds like she had a good time. Building a home assistant with Zigbee switches, depressed by the limited thermostat options. Never considered a mixed com deployment. Z-Wave, here I come. Hey, awesome, and thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, with my home assistant, I'm using an Ecobee. Love it or hate it, that's what I use because actually this is what was already installed in my house. Um, it does the job. I can set my temperature. It lets me know what's going on. I don't love that the Ecobee is tied to the Ecobee cloud as well, but I don't know. I live with it. I think an Ecobee seems better than the Google one, but I you're right though. There's a lot of limitations when you're looking for something that's directly controlled. There's options out there. You can certainly build your own. Do you know what number of Cisco clients to convert to UniFi at this point? I don't know. Not sure. Not sure. Definitely probably that number's probably decently big. All right. I need to close more windows. I have too many of them open. There we go. I use the how are these said? Aquara, AQARA Zigbee sensors for monitoring in-house conditions and HA response to all tells my Tuya heat pump to run my need. Yeah, the Aquara ones I've looked at, they look pretty cool. Some need a little bit more complicated home assistant setup, but there seems to be there's a good community around it, which something I mentioned earlier when people were asking me about different hypervisors. It comes down to the community around it. Can you find documentation and support for the things you want to do? And if you spend some time in the home assistant forums, there are a ton of very helpful people in there that really have a lot of great suggestions for things. And I think that's just awesome. Cisco's been buying a lot. Well, Cisco buys a whole lot of things. That's for sure. Their company built hugely on acquisitions. We sell implement UniFi Cisco metal with our clients or Meraki. Yeah. And Meraki. Yes. We do a lot of Meraki with our customers too. It works. CNWR was selling Meraki before we merged. So they're still selling Meraki after we merged. We also sell UniFi. DigiBlur has a great community for help with HA and many of its add-ons. Awesome. Yeah, what did I just order? I just ordered some more stuff that'll be here tomorrow. I wanted to finish off. I randomly just go through and buy more things for my home assistant. Like I'm like, oh, I need this or I want this, and then I try to make sure I don't buy things until I'm going to use them. So these are a couple more things. Oh yeah, this is. Someone just mentioned this is the last. I'm buying this because I want this to be able to set a scene. So this is one of those little button presses. It's got a single press, double press, long press. I want to play around with this, and I think I only need one in my studio, but I want to be able to come in my studio and switch between different scenes by one pressing or long pressing it, and I'll see how that works. Once I have that integration done, it'll be cool. What happens is I walk over to my bench, and I want to be able to have the lights come on. I might do a motion sensor for the lights as long as I'm standing at the bench, but I kind of like the idea of changing the scene because one of the lights, the purple light that you see behind me, what happens is there's actually two purple lights. And one of them, when I turn on the bench lights, I turn off the other purple light because if I'm filming, it blasts purple on the side of my head and it looks funny. It doesn't bother my eyes at all because it's a top down light, but I end up with a purple halo. I switched Nest to a Honeywell Z-Wave thermostat. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know Honeywell made a Z-Wave one. That's pretty cool. The Cisco, look, we can start this argument right now. Deep Space Nine was the best Star Trek of the older series. I say older because Strange New Worlds really, I love Strange New Worlds. But yeah, Cisco DS9, hands down, that's my favorite. That's one of my, it's probably right there at the top. That series was just wonderful. Any update on the HomeLab video? Yes, because I fixed some problems with it that happened. Minor issues. I don't think they're worth mentioning in a video because they had nothing to do with 45 drives, but I've got all my problems sorted out with it. So yes, soon. Have you seen any buttons like that can be hardwired, not battery? I don't know. I never really looked for them because my understanding is people told me some of the battery ones last like 2 years. So I'm like, okay, cool. Quark is my look. As long as you know all the rules of acquisition, Quark can be your spirit animal. What VMS are most popular in the USA? I don't know. Maybe ask that question differently. So I think what's popular in the US is relatively popular elsewhere for some of that stuff. But I need to go grab a drink, and I want to remind people I haven't got many emails lately from people, which kind of surprised me. Let's see here. Make sure I didn't miss any. Someone asked about PF Blocker. I think I answered that one last time. Do you use any presence sensor DHA? I have not because I don't really need one. But the everything presence sensor from Everything Smart Home looks like the best one out there for sure. I think that one's really cool. He just did a video on it. So yes. But let me go grab a drink, and I have a little be back soon. Where's that button at that makes that happen? All right, I'm gonna roll my be right back video, and because I'll be right back. I just gotta go grab a drink. I am all out of tea. I think I've drank enough tea. I gotta get something a little stronger. There we go. Where did I leave off? Thanks for the opinions, Tom. Awesome. I think that's where I left off. Where do you host your emails? So for lawrencesystems.com, that's G Suite or Google. What do they call it today? I'm calling it G Suite, but I know it's called like Google Apps or whatever. For CNWR, we use Office 365. I use the battery operated Aqara sensors, AQARA, however I'm supposed to say that. I have 3 of those that offer temp and humidity. Those are cool. SwitchBot, if you use a screen, and Govi has one that worked well for me. You need a Bluetooth. Yeah, there's a lot you can do with the little ESP32s. Those are definitely really cool. Woke up the house with that music. Is it loud? I have used 0 of the UniFi phone systems. What's the new drink? I think we're going to go with water. I realized I took my watch off. I'll put my watch back on. There we go. But water, no, water's gone. This is my evening drink of choice is Makers. Actually, I kind of wouldn't mind having a beer, but there's not a beer here. So I'm doing that. Well, there is a beer, but it's not a beer I want to have today. Any other cool service using a daily like SyncThing? Look them up, and I'm setting it up now. SyncThing, if you look at like my daily workflow, and maybe I should put some of this together. What is my daily workflow? And the workflow is like tools. I'm trying to think of how I'd word them, like tools I use every day. SyncThing definitely for synchronizing all my files. I use my Synology quite a bit. Synology handles all of my streaming needs. It's where all of my videos live. It's where not videos like YouTube, but like personal videos. I use Synology Photos that way I can self-host the backups. I do like the Synology ecosystem quite a bit. I also use a tool called LogSeq, and LogSeq is really cool. Maybe not for everyone, but people, I don't like apps that are all these cloud-based and proprietary apps for things like note-taking. And this is journaling and note-taking all in one. This is something I have a lot of data and I have to manage all that data. And I don't want a third party managing that data. I don't want a third party having access to any of that data or potentially having access to it. I also like things that are open source because being open source means I don't worry about a sudden change in the way the product is done where they're like, hey, you can't use this product anymore. We're stopping version updates and we're locking it all down to this proprietary thing. So this is one of the tools. If you are asking like one of my daily use tools, it's called LogSeq. I've just left a link there. This is my go-to for how I handle doing notes and everything else and workflows and making. This is my digital second brain, if you will. That's one thing I use a lot of. I'm trying to think if I'm looking at the tools I use. Nothing really comes to mind as like my daily use. I mean, I use Barrier, but I use that to control multiple computers in one. When I do my home lab tour, I'll talk a little bit more about the things I use. Home Assistant. I mean, Home Assistant is definitely, that is even on my day off use because of it being on my phone. It has all the automations to let me know what's going on. It automates different scenes in my living room for times of day and light changes. So yeah. You're looking for something to replace OneNote. It is a big change to move to something like LogSeq. It is a different it is a different workflow. It is a different way of thinking to use something like that. Oh, worth noting. So, in LogSeq, and we'll pull this up real quick. In LogSeq, you can do, this is like a screenshot here. You can do code blocks in here. It'll do code blocks. I actually really like it. It's all in Markdown. So when you're logging, when you're doing things in here, let me find someone probably has an example of what it looks like. There you got different Markdown guides of how it works. That's just not the site I was looking for. You can look up LogSeq videos. There's a few people that did videos on it. I'm not likely to be among the people doing videos on it, but once you kind of get the hang of how it works and grab an understanding of it, it's definitely great. Let's see. Oh, you like the Kroger label? Netgate 4200. This video is brought to you via, hey, not by, but via a Netgate 4200. Let's talk about that. The Netgate 4200 is plugged in and running. So this is what I'm using right now as my firewall. It works fine. This is where it's sitting. I think the box is kind of ugly, but yeah, it's sitting next to my Synology DVA 1622. That's what does my video recording, and this is the box that's running Netgate. I have no problems with it. It works great. It's been completely trouble free. I don't have really any complaints outside of ugly case. See, my problem with things like Obsidian is Obsidian is closed source. So I know a lot of people like it, and I have friends that use it that like open source, but just they're really into there. So yes, it's one of those things. I do all of this. I prefer everything, all my note-taking apps to be completely open source if possible, and LogSeq is open source. This is Obsidian is not open source. Have you deployed LogSeq self-hosted? LogSeq is a local application. So yes, essentially it's self-hosted. It's not a web page. It is a locally running application. It runs on I do have a MacBook Air. It runs on my MacBook Air. It runs on my desktop. Is there a safe way to use a gaming PC from anywhere in the house? Maybe stream that game session video from anywhere in the house? There's probably tools for that. Doesn't Steam have something for that? I don't game enough to tell you the answer to that question. I don't remember. I tried Trillium Notes. I remember what I didn't like about it. I love my Netgate 6100. I would hold off buying it on a rack mount. No, Netgate was going to come out with the 8200 series. Yeah. Yeah, LogSeq is the thing I liked about LogSeq. They have a very active community, lots of plugin support, and they're essentially following, I believe it's called the Zettelkaster method. Where did it go? This is actually a good read. I'm going to share this as well. The collector's fallacy. This is an old post, so this is about thinking about things in the Zettelkaster method. But yeah, this is all about collecting, having a second brain, essentially, how you collect things, how you journal, how you group information together. But the collector's fallacy is a fun place to start as a discussion topic, because it talks about the tend of all of us to gather data and feel good and useful about it. To collect is a reward itself. As knowledge workers, we're inclined to look for the next groundbreaking thought for intellectual stimulation. We pile up promising books and articles. We store half the internet as bookmarks just so we get the feeling of being on the cutting edge. Yes, you can't do that. You got to separate the news from the noise and figure out what's important. This is just a good read if you're trying to get your head wrapped around how to do this. I seen Moonshine mentioned. There's another Parsec was the other one. Parsec, Moonshine. There's a couple different projects. I've never used them. I've heard people mention them. I actually talked to their engineers about this. It's not even an issue that comes up. In the olden days, in the early days of eMMC, probably true. In modern times, eMMC has become substantially better, and it's just not a concern like it used to be. Steam Link or Meanlight, if you want uncompressed quality, you have to go with something like HDMI or Ethernet, not IP or KVM. Yeah, not a novel idea being able to game anywhere, but I game so little. I was trying to debate if I want to play any games tonight. This is the game I play. I have, I do live streams for a while. I actually started playing God of War. I thought that game was pretty cool. I'm probably got an hour or two in God of War. There's the extent of Tom's gaming. He played God of War an hour in the last month. I just don't play a lot of games. I try to find, like, the last time a game really captured me was The Witcher. I thought The Witcher was a great game. I played it. I put a lot of hours into it. I enjoyed it. I thought about redoing it again because I enjoyed it so much. But so much of my free time is like I wander over to my bench and take things apart. I'm overly fascinated with that, and I post way too much on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm chatting with friends and things like that. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it is. God of War. I don't know what version it is. It's the one that was on sale when I went to the game store with my son. I was like, "Hey, I'll buy this game. It's cheap and it looks cool." I don't even know which one it is. It's for PlayStation 4. It's my couch game. Um, I agree with you completely. And one of the things I do is I read a lot of books, and I not just the books that I have posted on my website, but I read a lot of other books. Kickstart sponsored some of Cory Doctorow's latest fiction books. So those are, Cory Doctorow just sent me, because I forgot to email him back. He sent me his latest book. I was like, awesome, because I was part of the Kickstarter campaign for that. And he's got a new one. I think I backed that one as well. I've backed several of his books. I just give him the money, let that man keep writing. So yeah, I read more than anything else. I grab a good book and, like, all right, let me just burn through this book, this book, this book. That's how I turn my brain off, is go for walks and read books or podcasts. I listen to a decent amount of podcasts. The transition from gamer to around the home lab tinker is quite profound. Yeah. No, I didn't read the Expanse series, but, like, I watched it and I thought the Expanse was amazing. So yeah, I imagine the books are probably even better. This is the picture I actually used for the thumbnail. I realized the Bly KVM, I did the review of this little KVM, and I wanted to be able to control the Netgate and via the USB port. The Bly KVM, you just SSH into it and connect it to your Netgate, and there you go. Now I have access to it. This is actually really convenient. But this is what this looks like take apart. And yes, if you'd want to put an M2 in your, you can put one in there. It goes right here if you really feel the need to mount a mount the 4200 with an M2 drive. First Law Trilogy, Joe Abercrombie. No, I have not. Gamer, home lab, tinker. Yeah, I've always been a tinkerer, though. That's more so. There's never been, with the exception of maybe in my 20s, I was into Unreal a bit. Maybe late 20s, probably late 20s. I was into. I'm trying to remember when that fell. It probably in my later 20s. Unreal Tournament was huge. I had a group of friends I played with a lot online, and yeah, I've lost track of all those people. I never talk to them anymore. It's like we all just kind of faded away, and we only really knew our gamer handles, and so it all just kind of faded. I think it's funny. My gamer handle, for anyone uh, that would be looking for me, would think I'm still gaming, because my daughter assumed my gamer handle. I gave her all my game accounts, and she started, when she was really young, I just let her use my gaming handle because she was logged in as me. Now my daughter is quite the gamer, and she's ended up she doesn't live stream on Twitch or anything like that, but she's ended up on some big Twitch live streams because she's good at what she plays. So it's kind of funny to see that my gamer handle has now shown up in different places. And yeah, I think that's kind of funny to me. And don't ask me what game she plays. I don't pay that much attention. Like, I sometimes will play games. I was playing one game with my kids, but I'm bad at remembering the names of the games I play. So it's whatever my kids invited me to. Hey, Tom, what do you use as CNWR for internal documentation? We're using a big OneNote file at work, and we think we can do better. Been checking with Docusaurus, MKDocs, Wikijs, and Bookstack. The integration and automation is what keeps us from using all those things. We're using Hudu right now, and it's just because of all the integrations that we have with it to automate a lot of our backup, or not backup, automate our documentation process. So yeah, I like all those other solutions, and I used one for years at Lawrence Systems, but we're using Hudu now. Is your daughter interested in continuing the family legacy of becoming a YouTuber, Twitch star? That is a no. She has no interest in. My daughter does not stream, so that is not an interest on. Not an interest she has at all. I have offered both of my children. Well, there's actually, I got 5 kids, so 3 step kids and 2 biological kids, but treat them all the same. I've offered any of them help in the idea of streaming, and 0 of 5 kids have any interest in what goes on in a studio. No interest at all. Yeah, it's not my gamer tag anymore. It's my daughter's. Yes. Do you use LionGuard with Hudu? Yes. LionGuard, Auvik. I probably should do an updated video on this, but if you look on the Business Technicalities channel, you'll find a video me and Jason did talking about our client defense matrix, and we have a list of all the tools we use. Because there are a lot of tools. No, I've given some of the gear away in the past. Selling it, no. The usual stuff, we have a lot of stuff that just sits in racks because we pull it and use it from time to time. Like I don't actively use that MikroTik switch I reviewed a while ago, but every now and then, because I keep it plugged in, I update it, log into it, make sure it works. And maybe someone has a question that I'll look up in the MikroTik system. And I'm like, hey, cool, this switch is still getting updates, blah, blah, blah. The rest of the gear I offer, sometimes it goes to employees. Employees internally, I always try to give first dibs on things. And we're trying to, with 30 people working at CNWR, roughly 30, we're trying to work on maybe some plans where I can get more of that equipment to people. I don't like anything sitting around, but I always want to offer it to our internal staff first. What Tom doesn't know yet is part of the office is getting reorganized. Oh, yeah, Tom doesn't care. I mean, as long as the office is clean when I go visit it, which that's the extent of what Tom cares. Hey, look, there's not boxes everywhere. the office can get a little sketch. It just there's no big projects being delivered at the office right now, but when there's a lot of office projects, yeah, things get sketchy there. Where did it go? Yeah, see, this is my office setup. This is where I'm sitting most of the time, is right here. The camera that you see right here, that's the camera I'm looking and pointing at. So I see it. That's why when I turn this way, I'm looking at the big screen. I'm looking at this screen here, the long one, and then there. So this is actually the desk I sit at my for my studio. I got to do an updated studio tour, which will also lead to the updated home lab tour. Would love to see Brett get like a Raspberry Pi or something technical. Yeah, I don't expect Brett to get a Raspberry Pi. How do you like the monitor above? Did that once, was something difficult trying to raise my head. So I don't mind it because it's for editing reasons. There's two things on there. When I'm not editing videos, that's where all my Slack notices are. Slack and Signal, the two things I use for all my messaging mostly, are there. Yeah. So that's pretty much, it's not a big deal. It's not, because my monitors are low, I'm almost, I don't know, you can see how they're not very high. I don't have them up high, so my neck is only going up a little bit to see. So it's not a big deal. Yeah, Travis rebuilt his, Travis made some changes, some updates to the Travis area where he's set up at our office. Fun stuff. That wallpaper, home lab rack set up, right? Nope. That wallpaper is AI generated. I generate a lot of stupid images mostly. My ChatGPT history is embarrassingly dumb. It's mostly make a pun out of this. I love ChatGPT for doing dumb things. What did I have it draw the other day? Is it in the list still? All right. Someone will find this funny. Or I found it funny. If you want to know the dumb things Tom uses AI for, can I share the wallpaper? I can't share it on a live stream. If you message me in my forums or email vlog Thursday at lawrencesystems.com, I can share it out. But let's talk about my friend Jeff Geerling real quick. So Jeff Geerling, what did he post the other day? Jeff posted this. So Jeff posts that he's doing an interview about a Raspberry Pi. And immediately I was like, You're interviewing Jason Statham about a Raspberry Pi? And I was like, all right, that was it. So the next thing you know, I'm on AI and making Jason Statham holding a Raspberry Pi because this is what AI is good for you. And I got in a discussion on LinkedIn with the Raspberry Pi Foundation and sharing pictures of this with them because this is to me what AI is. It's a wonderful regurgitation machine, and uh, it can make silly things for me and puns really and things like that. So yes, that's what AI is to me. Can you share the chair? Yes, I'll share my chair. Oh, let's see. Let me figure out what chair I have. I bought this one back in July. So this is the chair I'm sitting in right now. A good chair is an investment. So I bought this chair in July 28th of 2023. So 6 months of my butt being in this chair, I'm still happy with it. I think it's very comfortable. It's a great chair. Highly recommend it. I'll throw a link for anyone interested in this particular chair. No, it's not a cheap chair for sure. Yeah, it's not the budget chair. I'm not gonna lie. I got sick of budget chairs and them not being up to snuff. This chair, on the other hand, excellent. How does one with little IT background get a job with a small company? Best way to find them: had back surgery, have the change from industrial maintenance. Learning and knocking on doors. Tinkering your home lab, get your A plus, get your net plus, get any of the basic certs out of the way that shows that you have some comprehension of things, and just start knocking on doors. You'll end up working help desk is the most likely position you'll start at, but you just start absorbing everything around you, figure out how people are solving the problems, and progress your way up. Yeah, there's no real easy, like, one word answer for how to get into tech. It's more just pursuing it and running forward. I've been in it too long, so I don't really know. I take that back. I understand, like, applying for jobs is way different than it used to be. Just because I was applying with my son, he's looking for a job. He does not want to work in tech. He does not want to work with dad. And so we applied at places, but boy, you apply just everything online. Like, there's not really a going, even to smaller places. Like, they just have you scan an app, and that's how you do that. So it's kind of interesting. Got 3 servers running TrueNAS Scale and learning my way through it. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, help desk is where a lot of people start. You might even just find happiness there. Some people just like the customer service stuff, and I'm like, awesome. If someone's got to do it, I don't necessarily. I like people. I'm not a anti-people person, but I also am more technical and more in-depth technical. So I've learned to be better in my people skills, but it's a more forced habit for me versus some people are really good with people, naturally good with it. So yeah, but there's always places hiring for help desk. It's your entryway in there, but it's not a bad place to start. Hey, Tom. Hello, Systech 911 Tim. All right, I think I got all the messages caught up. Hey, Tom's greetings from Bulgaria. Love your videos. How is the partnership going? Are you still focused primarily on the technical implementations? Partnership is going well. I debated about doing a follow-up video. It's not a real fit for my channel to talk about the business stuff. Maybe I'll post on business technicalities, but partnership, me and Jason are both like, I feel surprised. I thought I would have like there was an unknown before you merge. Like there's going to be a conflict. There's going to be something me and Jason absolutely disagree on, and we're going to argue with each other because we both are people with opinions and we feel very strongly about the opinions we have. And it turns out me and him share a lot of the same opinions on things. So anytime he's like, well, I don't, there's a couple of times when we had to make some changes that I thought Jason, like, I felt like he came ready to debate it, but I immediately disarmed it because he says, I think we should really do this. And here's why. And I said, say no more. I agree with you. Oh, he didn't have to like get to his points. Matter of fact, we still got to them. And I agree. I don't remember what the topic was. I just remember thinking he seemed ready to debate with me on it. But I was like, there's no debate. You're absolutely right on this topic. And we moved on. So me and Jason have got along surprisingly well. We actually have me and Jason. We have a lot of the same mannerisms and behaviors. Apparently, Jason will disappear from the office without saying goodbye. That is definitely a trait I have. And there's also that. I enjoy Jason say, if I'm not yelling at you, you're doing fine or something like that. And that's completely me. I'm not a person. I don't give. It's not that I don't want to. And if someone asks, yes, I'll answer the question like, hey, you're doing a great job or things like that. But I'm very similar. Like probably my mannerisms are, yeah, if I'm not bitching about stuff, I'm probably happy with it. But no, it's been actually, the merger's gone really well. He just got done building a 40 gig circuit, going from building a 40 gig circuit with a 100 gig backbone from Georgia to Kentucky. Awesome. Help desk will give you a lot of insight in a lot of different areas. Always someone to talk to. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely it's where you start and maybe where you find some happiness working in tech. Can't find a video of yours. S3 Backblaze. Is it easy? If you type in Backblaze, I've only done like one Backblaze video on TrueNAS. So it's an older video, but the concept is still the same. That's actually something maybe I'll do an updated video on is setting up Backblaze with TrueNAS. I have to look at that old video to see how much different it is. Backblaze is still, I store less there. Because we have multiple locations now. My studio is a location, CNWR Southgate's a location, CNWR Toledo is a location. I have enough places to store all my data that it doesn't matter as much about storing it at in a cloud, because as long as I have extra copies off site, I'm happy. I've been holding on to things in Backblaze. At some point, I should probably just let them go, save some money. So you just set up Backblaze on Core and it was super easy. Yeah, I mean, it's the integration. It's not that much different than when I did the video several years ago. There's not much that has changed. It's one of those, it just works. You set it up and away you go. And Backblaze is reliable and dependable. I haven't really had any issues with it. But now that you guys are reminding me that I'm always looking at what am I spending money on that I probably don't need to anymore. Backblaze is probably that thing. I don't have, we were housing client data in there, but now that's been migrated somewhere else. And so, yeah, I might migrate that. Any knowledge to Microsoft Secure Access? Um, I wouldn't trust Microsoft with that. That's my thoughts on it. I'm assuming you mean Nextcloud, not OwnCloud, but yes. The updates seem to break. I'm not a fan. I don't use Nextcloud much. I don't have a good use case for it for my day-to-day operations. Maybe one day, but I don't know. It's definitely buggy on TrueNAS. I won't argue with that. I think it's better as a standalone, maybe in its own VM, maybe in a Docker version of it. But yeah, I don't think it's great on TrueNAS. I don't use it, but enough people use it that have problems with it. That seems to be an issue. I grabbed a Stream Deck Mini. They're powerful, so I grabbed a 15 key one. Then realized you can have pages and folders. Yes, you can. That's something I think is kind of cool too. You can take this, and matter of fact, where's the button? Hey, look, more buttons, another page. I like the fact that because one of the things, what this button right here does, it looks like a shutdown button, but when you press this, what it does is I can put the computer to sleep, I can reboot it, I can hit lock. Most of the time, I'm just going to do a shut down the computer. Now I've tangled it in my keyboard. There we go. But I like the Stream Decks. They're definitely just handy little devices. I like it because it's small. I actually am happy I don't have the big one because I don't have this giant thing on my desk. I got the little one. But with that, I love talking to everyone. We've gone for 2 hours. I could probably go a little longer, but I actually think I'm going to play some God of War. And it wouldn't be exciting to watch me. I'm not a streamer. I'm not a game streamer. So sorry for anyone who would prefer to watch me do that. People have asked me like, hey, should Tom just do these live streams? Like, dude, you just watch me stare at a screen for a while and zone out. That's handy when your computer's in another room. Yes, it is, because my computers are not in this studio. Both of my computers are on the other side of the wall. I point that way because it's actually that wall. But yeah, all my computers have wires coming through the wall to power my monitors. There's not a computer in this office. It's part of how I can keep the sound down. So when I'm rendering a video or doing any of that, it's all completely in the other room. All the noise, the heat, and any disturbances caused by my computers are all in the other side. It also makes the wiring a lot cleaner in the office. The wiring is not as clean on the other side of that wall. I'm not going to lie. I'd like to build a learning lab for our employees. Been following some of your tutorials with a budget 2 to 5K. What do you recommend prioritize? I mean, that's plenty to build a virtualization box and maybe a few switches. That's, it kind of depends what you want them to train on. For our staff, the virtualization stuff, not that they're training on virtualization, but having a fast virtualization server that they can spin up and run VMs on, that is definitely handy. So if they have a question and they want to run something in the lab, this is what our lab looks like. Eric has his virtual machine here. He can spin up anything he wants on it. He's got a bunch of network adapters attached to it. And for any of these network adapters, we can change any of the settings on here to be able to swap it to a different network that represents itself physically on another switch. So having all of that, is what's really handy. So to me, virtualization server, a bunch of VLANs, and a clear map of how to use it, that's what you need. What other game do I play? Nothing right now, just God of War. How long are HDMI cable runs? Do you need active cables? Nope. From the wall to the computer is a couple feet. So they're like 8-foot cables. So I do have one because where my bench is, I think it's a 25-foot cable, but it's not active or anything. It's just a standard HDMI cable. Yeah, our storage servers are fast. Our systems all boot off NVMe drives. I've got, if you look up like Ryzen XCP-NG, I've got all the parts for our build video in it. But they're Ryzen servers with NVMes. They're nice and fast. But with that, I'm going to leave, or I'll never leave. If I don't go, I'll never get to go play my game. So I'm going to stop this here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. See you next time. Join my forums. Looking forward to seeing you there. Say hi in the comments. Email vlog Thursday at lawrencesystems.com. And awesome.